record this. So August 25 next week and 26 will be the schedule of our first formative test. Okay, everyone, take note. It will be up on Monday, but it will be open on the 25th. You will be given 23 hours each. You can take it anytime on August 25 and 26, and you will be given 3 hours to complete the test. Okay, it's about a 50 to 100 item test. Okay, and then over the weekend, on Friday, tomorrow, I'll be posting a sample quiz about 10 to 15 items, which will serve as your, it's ungraded, which will serve as your practice test. Any questions so far? No? Any questions? Okay. So anyway, we'll lack a few more topics. If you look at our Dagler site, we lack a few more topics, which is the history of the internet. Okay, do you follow? And then last meeting we took up different portions in history. The history of the IBM PC, Apple computers and computer monitors. For example, when was the first? Which computer has the first monitor? It's the PDP-1 on during 1960s. It was the first CRT display. It's a circular display. And then in 1973, Xerox Palo Alto had a CRT monochrome display. It's a black and white display. And then it's also Xerox Alto computer which had the first mouse. Okay, do you follow? Okay. Which computer had the first color display? In 1977, it was Apple II. Okay. The first VGA monitor is 640 by 480. In 1987. SVGA, which is higher resolution, was introduced in 1989, and we have HD by the late 1980s. It doesn't specify the actual year. It's late 1980s. HD 720. Okay, and then the LCD monitors became very popular in 1997, although they were introduced in the mid 1990s, because it was Apple, IBM, and ViewSonic, who were selling their monitors comparable to CRT monitors, with better quality and resolution. Okay. LCD outsold. Now by 2003, the CRT monitors were gone. Okay. And then by 2009, we had LED monitors. Okay. It was not sure when we did get the full HD 1080. As the 2010, we already have 1080, and until now we have 2K and 4K resolution. Okay. Any questions so far? So which computer had the first monitor? It's the PDP-1. The first computer with the first color monitor, it's Apple II, 1976. 77, ang color. Okay, although Apple II was released in 1976, right after the Apple I. Okay, the first computer with a mouse, Xerox Alto. Let's look at that. There's Xerox Alto with a mouse. There it is, with the mouse, Look at the mouse, It's already 3 buttons. Okay, you follow. That's the first mouse on a Xerox in 1973. Remember Apple introduced their first computer in 1976. And later, when the Macintosh came, when the Mac computer came, they equipped it with a graphical user interface. Before it was the Apple Liza, I think it's 1979 when they introduced the mouse on the Mac computer. So we had the first different generation of computers. The first generation of computers from 1940 to 1946. These are the yung ENIAC, EDVAC, IAS. These are vacuum tubes. William vacuum tubes. computers. No, the second generations are transistor based. No, they're like almost the same size. No, but the transistors are made of solid semiconductors. No, not filament based transistors or vacuum tubes. By the third generation, 1965 to 1970, this is the time of the PDP. No, ICs were introduced. No, the PDP-7 and the 7090, because 701 to 709, 705, kasi ang 709 was the first transistorized version, no? Yes, because 701 to 704 are first generation computers. 709 is a transistor-based computer. Okay, 709, 7090, no? The IBMs were transistor-based. And then the PDP-1 to PDP-4, kasi there's no PDP-5 where transistor-based also. No? The third generation of computers were IC-based. No? Integrated ICs, we know what they are. No? They can store so many transistors inside. The 17S360, no? And the PDP-7 onwards are IC-based PCs, no? Computers rather. Now, by 1964 to 1971, this was the time. Actually, others were saying it's a okay, third generation. No, that's correct. No, 19 to 71. It's still the same. No? And then by 1971, no, because in 1973, the first microcomputer was introduced. It's the Zilog C80. Okay. March 1976. That's too late, no? 1974 kasi 76 na ano. 76 was the long. It's the Altair 8800. I'm sorry, no? Altair 8800, okay? It's the first personal computer, considered to be the first personal computer, no? 1974, considered to be the first personal computer. There are better pictures of the Altair. This is the Altair, no? And if you look at the Zilog Z80, which is the predecessor, after the Zilog Z80, we have the Altair 8800. We have the Zilog Z80. Okay. Altair 1974, no? Ang Zilog Z80, 8080. The processor is the Intel 8080 CPU. Look, it's already an IC. Microprocessor. It's not just an IC, but it's a microprocessor. No? Okay. And then the Zilog Z80 came after the Altair. 1974. Do you follow? 1973 yung almost the same, no? Okay. 1974, released in 1975. The Zilog Z80. The Zilog Z80 is the first personal computer with an operating system. Okay, the first operating system is called CP/M. It's in our guide. No? Do you follow? Do you follow? Okay, let's look at the Zilog Z80. If you look at the Zilog Z80, it resembles a lot the model. This is the CPU. Now we would like to look at the Zilog Z80 computer. Microprocessor. It's different from when you say Z80, it's a processor and it's also a computer at the same time. No? Okay. Look at the assembly language. It looks like the old PDP-1 and do you follow? So the Zilog Z80 is the first computer with an operating system. Okay, it runs on tapes. Okay, Suarez. So 1974, 1975 yun, no? Yung Zilog Z80 at saka Altair. Okay. Then Xerox Alto. First computer with a mouse. 1973, no? You follow? It's the first computer, 1970. Mas una pa ito, no? But the computer that's considered a personal computer is Altair and Zilog. Okay. First computer with a mouse is Xerox Alto. 1973, by 1985, no? By 1985, we have the Apple computers. No? It was the first Apple computer was actually released in 1976, April 1, 1976, by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. This is how it looks like. And then they introduced the Mac computer. Mac ito, no? This is the Mac computer. Okay. In 1984. Okay. Apple II was the first computer with a color monitor. You follow? We still have Mac computers around, right? In fact, last year I have a student who's using a Mac. Now, 1976 was the time of the Apple, and by 1971, IBM was introduced back to the market, because remember, IBM during the 1960s was producing mainframe computers, and 1970s. No? By 1981, they produced their first personal computer. It's the IBM PC. Okay. 1981. By the way, during this time, no, Microsoft was already selling a programming language called BASIC. It's already even present on the Altair. MBasic, or called Microsoft BASIC, is present in 1975 in the Altair computer, and it is also popular in the Apple I and Apple II. Okay, so this is the IBM PC. This is the first. This was introduced in 1981. This is the first personal computer released by IBM. No? How much was it sold? Did it say? It's very expensive, no? Okay, 1981, and then this came with an operating system from Microsoft. No, this is the first personal computer with an operating system, OS, no, from Microsoft, which is called DOS, no, MS-DOS. Do you follow? No? And then there's Bill Gates, no, in 1984. Okay, age 29. Bill Gates and Paul Allen. Okay. Bill Gates and Paul Allen were there. I'm not sure if this is Paul Allen, but they're actually the founders of Microsoft, who Paul Allen programmed the DOS. No? DOS. That's the IBM PC. You can look at that. Now you have to look at this yourself, okay? And then the history of Microsoft Windows. Remember in 1981, no? DOS was released. MS-DOS. Microsoft DOS was released for the IBM PC. And in 1985, they released the first Windows, which did not click. DOS was still the dominant operating system. And Windows 3.0 was introduced in 1990. This is very popular. No? This is the first graphical user interface. But remember that by 1983, Mac already came up with a graphical user interface. Okay. So anyway, what were the softwares running on the PC during those times? No? First, there was VisiCalc. The first VisiCalc is the first spreadsheet running on the PC, no? Running on a personal computer. It may not be the very first, no? It may not be the very first worksheet, but it is the first worksheet running on the PC. It ran on the Apple II computer in 1979. Okay, that's how it looks, no? That's how it looks, the old worksheet, no? 1979. Okay. So what's the first operating system running on the word processor running on the PC? It's called WordStar. No? It came earlier in 1978. Okay, WordStar. This is how you type documents before. Okay. Okay? So yan. And then the first graphical word processor, no? Because text-based WordStar is a text-based word processor. The first graphical word processor, which means it can now accommodate images, no, is called WordPerfect. Okay, it runs on the Windows 3.11, no, 1979. Okay, this also run on the Mac and the Apple computers. Okay, how does it look like? Ito, you follow? Look, it's now graphical. It's like your modern MS Word. In fact, a lot of features in MS Word today are still were borrowed from the old WordPerfect. Okay, it's still running even though in Windows XP. Do we still have WordPerfect now? Can we Google WordPerfect for Windows 10? Do we have that? Yes, it's under Corel. Okay, WordPerfect is under Corel now. Okay. Okay. Okay, so ano, this was it, no? So WordPerfect, WordStar, VisiCalc, no? These are the first computers. Now in 1995, they released the Windows 95 in August. No? This is a very popular operating system because this is the first 32-bit OS. No? 32-bit OS. So it's like a mini computer already. Because remember that the IBM 709 is a 38-bit computer. Do you follow? So it can now compete with mini and mainframe computers, no? With Windows 95. And in 1993, they released a server version. It's called Windows NT, okay, to compete with Unix. Okay. Windows 98 is a very popular version. It's a stable version. Windows XP 2001. Have you seen this? This is very popular because this is the first operating system that comes in 64 bits. Okay. Windows Vista did not succeed. Windows 7 is a very popular version. It had more security features. Windows 8 did not succeed, and Windows 10, that's what we are currently using. They follow. There are many other versions of Windows. No? So ito yung ano, no? DOS. This is how DOS looks like. And this is Windows 95. It's already like, there's already the start button. Okay. So the main difference between a Mac OS and a Windows is the taskbar. In the Mac OS, that taskbar is on the top. Home server. Windows Mobile. Do you have a Windows Phone? It was introduced in 2000. Okay. Any questions so far? Now I have a material here for the brief history of internet, and then I have summarized it in a worksheet because this doesn't appear correctly on the web. Okay, so you can download this worksheet yourself. So I have an offline copy of the history of the internet. I'll just show it to you here. You follow? When did the internet start? Now, in the 1970s, there's already a networking that was used by IBM, but it's not a network of computers. It is a network of terminals. Because during the 1970s, IBM in their mainframes, in the S360, they wrote an airline reservation system. Okay, so the terminals are connected to the computer, to the mainframe, using telephone lines. Okay, so anywhere you are, you can book a reservation to airlines to subscribe to the IBM airline reservation system. So meron na, but it's not a network of computers. It's a network of terminals, only terminals. What's a terminal? It's a screen with a keyboard connected to but this has no CPU. By the way, what's the difference between a microprocessor and an IC? A microprocessor has registers. Do you follow? In it, no? So, nandun it has the program counter, the accumulator register, no, the memory address register, no, all registers are inside a microprocessor. An ordinary IC does not have registers inside them. Okay, so that's one of the main differences. Anyway. So when did the internet start? The idea of the internet started in 1962 in the Defense Department, US Defense Department. Okay, 1962 during the Vietnam War. No, not yet. No, 1970s na yung Vietnam War. No, I think Korean War. Maybe this. No? In 1962, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency of the US Defense Department, no? And a person named J.C.R. Leiter. He's a researcher in DARPA. No? DARPA, no? Defense Advanced. That's the office where the internet originated. Convinced his successors, no? Sutherland, Taylor, and Lawrence G. Roberts. Okay? Lawrence G. Roberts is very important, no? To come up with a project called the Galactic Network. Okay? It's an idea of computers interconnected together so that they could quickly access data and programs from any site. It's called the Galactic Network. Galactic Network in 1962. Okay. The first paper was published in 1961. Okay. And the author is Leonard Kleinrock, no? Of MIT. MIT, no? Okay. Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They were proposing projects to the Defense Department. Kleinrock convinced Roberts, no, Lawrence G. Roberts of DARPA, no, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency of the U.S. Defense Department. The theoretical possibility of communication using packets rather than circuits, no, because circuits cannot be constructed across very long distances. So packets, why packets? Packets are telephone hubs. No? So when you connect to a telephone, the telephone connects from one packet to another when you make a telephone call. No? And operators operate them so that your packet can be sent to whoever you're calling. No? So this was the idea of Leonard Kleinrock, no, of MIT, that we can, instead of connecting wires, we can connect computers using a switching circuit, no, using the same pattern after telephone packet switches. Do you follow? So from telephones, no. In 1965, Lawrence G. Roberts, MIT researcher, no, and consultant to DARPA, okay, worked with Thomas Merrill, connected a TX2 computer. This was 1965. This was the first official connection. Do you follow? In 1965, they were able to successfully connect two computers, no? Okay, a TX2 computer with an TQ32 into California State University, from MIT to LA, no? What's that? UCLA, no? From MIT to UCLA. Do you follow? So they were able to connect through a low-speed dial-up phone, thereby creating the first wide network ever built. No? Do you follow? So nag-connect sila ng dalawang computers, no? That was the first wide area network, no? The TX2 computer connected to from MIT to UCLA, no? In 1966, Roberts went to DARPA to develop the computer network concept. Now, they have already tried it in 1965. No? And together, they published a plan for a better network, no? Aside from two computers, because they have already demonstrated it, called the ARPANET, Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, publishing it in 1967. This is a very important milestone because the ARPANET is considered to be the origin of the internet. Okay, what was the internet called before? It was called ARPANET. That was the origin of the internet. The main author is Lawrence G. Roberts of DARPA. No? Do you follow? So it's from the US Defense Department. Any questions so far? No? So 1967, no? That was when the internet was born. Okay. Andre Vincent. When was the internet born? 1967. Okay. And it was called, what was it called then? It's called the ARPANET. Okay. It is based on DARPA. Now, there was a claymore to extend the network to more computers. No? So DARPA released an RFQ. It's like a bidding document, okay, publishing a bid for suppliers to sell packet switches, or called interface message processors, no, RMPs. These are packet switches which can be used to build the network, okay, to build the computer network. And by December 1968, a group called BBN, no, from their names, I think both Beranek and Newman, BBN, both Beranek and Newman, BBN, okay, won the award for the RFQ. So BBN installed the first IMP at UCLA. The first host computer was connected. So the first server, where is the first server installed? At UCLA. Okay. Added quickly to the ARPANET. Okay. Computers were added quickly to the ARPANET during the following years, and work proceeded on completing host-to-host protocol. So there was already a system. A protocol is a way of interpreting. It's like the Enigma machine. When you leave a message, you just leave it there, and then when somebody gets it, the protocol will tell you it's for you, it's not for you. If it's for you, the protocol will tell you how to interpret the message. You follow? That's what a protocol is. They're like very busy professors, no, or doctors trying to communicate with each other with no time to do some meetings. What will do? They just leave a message. Okay? It's like your modern messenger. It's like your modern messenger where you don't have that time to talk, you just leave a message. Okay? And then you'll be able to communicate anyhow. But computers do that very quickly, okay? Do you follow? So in a network, a computer will just leave a message, and then whoever the recipient is will get it correspondingly. No? It's called a protocol. No? So it was established in 1969, a host-to-host protocol, okay, to manage the communication between growing computers connected to the ARPANET. Okay, remember ARPANET started in 1969. 1969 was the expansion. 1967 was the establishment of ARPANET. By 1969, it grew very, very large. No? Most of them were computers connected to through the universities. No? So the first server is in UCLA. Do you follow? No? Saan naka-first locate? In first server of the internet, it's in UCLA. It's under a network called ARPANET. Because remember, no, MIT and UCLA tried to make a connection in 1965. In 1965, no. By 1969, okay, they were able to make the ARPANET larger, grow it larger, okay. So 1965 nag-try, 1969 they succeeded, okay. 1970 and 1971, a networking group under S. Crocker, no, of the ARPANET, maybe from one of the universities, established a host-to-host protocol called NCP. It's a protocol, no? Again, it's a way of defining how computers communicate with each other. NCP was used as the protocol, no, from 1971 to 1972. It's a very crude protocol, but it was able to network users so that they could start writing applications on the network. No? So 1972, si Khan is in the DARPA, no? Yeah, I think it's Robert E. Khan, no? Let's Google that. Si Robert Kahn and Vincent Cerf, no? Ito si Bob Kahn, no? Okay. He's the author, no? He's one of the authors of TCP. Okay. We follow? Robert E. Kahn, no? In DARPA and BBN. Okay. Organize a large conference. Okay. It's an international conference. It's an international on computer communication, international computer conference on communication. No? That's 1972. Okay. They demonstrated a very important application. They called it a hot application, electronic email. Do you follow? The first email was written by Roy Tomlinson of BBN. Taga-BBN siya. Yung nag-supply. The BBN was supplying the packet switches for the network. Roy Tomlinson of BBN wrote the basic email message. So Roy Tomlinson is now accredited to be the author of email. Do you follow? Who authored email? Roy Tomlinson of BBN. It was first introduced in 1972. Okay, via an international conference. It became a very popular application, okay, used to send and read software, motivated by the need of by the ARPANET to develop easy and coordinate mechanisms. No. Now, in July, Roberts expanded the first utility program, email utility program. No, so si Roberts, no, it's not Robert E. Kahn, no, but Roberts of the ARPANET, it's Lawrence G. Roberts, wrote the first email application. Now, it's not like Thunderbird and what do you have that in Outlook, no? The first email application is text-based. I have used it myself, no? Electronic email. It's like this. No? Wala na tayong makita, no? You can only send text messages, no? I've used it myself. This is a modern email application, no? But the original email application is a text-based application. You can send messages, send and receive messages. Okay. I've used it in the 1990s, no? Do you follow? So it was first written by Lawrence G. Roberts. Okay. So the first email utility program. What's an email utility program? You have Microsoft Outlook, Thunderbird, no? And then the email facility you have on your on your Gmail, no? On your mobile, on your cell phones. These are email utility programs. Okay, which can be used to list, selectively read or file or forward, no? You can already forward messages, forward and respond to messages. Okay. From there, the email took off as the largest application for over a decade. Ngayon, text na tayo ngayon, no? Messaging na. But before, email was the largest application. Okay? Do you follow? Now, 1973, Bob Metcalf. Bob Metcalf and Robert E. Kahn, remember their pair? Na natin. So, si Vint Cerf pala, no? Si Vint Cerf pala yung author ng TCP/IP, who is considered to be the father of the internet. Okay? Si Bob Metcalf was the person who classified the networks, no? In 1973. He introduced the different classifications of networks like A, B, and C. You remember if you're familiar with the TCP/IP, no? We have an address like 192.168.0.1. We follow. Pag 192.0.0.0, that's class A. Pag 192.168.0.0, that's class B. Pag 192.168.1 and that whatever that is, that's class C. Okay? So class A is a larger network than class B. And class C is the smallest network. Class C is now called the local area network. Okay? So the local area network was defined by Bob Metcalf in 1973 in Xerox. Do you follow? Right? The year right after, no? The NCP became obsolete. Remember, the protocol that was used by DARPA was NCP. And it is limited to a very small network. Okay? The network, ARPANET was growing very large. And it was growing very large faster. So, by 1974, they introduced a new network protocol. It's called TCP/IP, the network we have now, the protocol we have now. It was first authored by Vint Cerf, no? And in coordination with Robert Eakin. Remember, Robert Eakin introduced the email? No? Si Robert Eakin ang nagano. Vint Cerf is now considered to be the father of internet. It's developed in DARPA. No? Vint Cerf authored TCP/IP. Do you follow? Who invented TCP/IP? Vint Cerf. Vint Cerf is the father of the internet. Okay? Because the internet became formally internet after TCP/IP. Okay? It still started with ARPANET. No? But when in 1980, TCP/IP was adopted as the defense standard. Okay, and even until now, we are still using TCP/IP. Okay, any questions so far? 1918 defense standard, no? And in 1983, ARPANET migrated their NCP to TCP/IP. Nowadays, there's only one dominant protocol. It's called TCP/IP. There were many others, no? Okay, now in 1980, now the internet then was just a connection of computers with email. Do you follow? But sometime in 1980 in Europe, no, because the internet started in the US, no, Inquire was built. What is Inquire? Inquire is a database. Inquire is a database of people and software, okay, using software models, no, written by Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee is a researcher in the Center for European Organization for Nuclear Research. This is not nuclear bomb, no, but nuclear power research. Okay, so where is CERN located? It's near Portugal and Spain, no? Europe. Sa Europe ito. Okay. There are 12 founding members of CERN, no? It's an organization composed of countries. CERN location. Let's know that. Let's locate that in Europe. Switzerland or ano? There's an office. Franco-Swiss border, no? Switzerland pala, no? But there's also an office somewhere near Spain. Geneva. No? Geneva in Switzerland. No? You follow? This is a very important no? In 1980, because Tim Berners-Lee built a personal database of people and software. How is that built? If you have a software somewhere, he makes a connection from one people to another of this different software. Okay, to do that, he has to play with something called a hypertext. A hypertext is a text with a code that will guide you to the next connection. Do you follow? Okay. In 1980, I've used this before, no? Because I was working on hypertext during my graduate school. Okay. Now, in 1989, Berners-Lee wrote a proposal for a huge hypertext database. Remember that Hypertext came from a need to store database and connect them together with type links. So you have the H tag, no, in the hypertext. The H tag will allow you to make a link from one document to another. These are called type links. Although the proposal attracted a few interests, no, he considered several names for it. No, he considered several names for the proposal, including mesh, information mesh. It's one of the first names. Information mine, or mine of information. But later, Berners-Lee settled for the name World Wide Web. Okay, World Wide Web, WWW, and WWW was formally introduced at CERN. No? So when did the WWW first came? In 1989 in Europe. No? They follow. It's okay, a link of large hypertext database. They follow. No? Okay. Now, 1989, in 1990, Berners-Lee built a tools necessary for working with the web. One of them is the hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, it is a protocol that will allow you to access a document in the web and formally define the HTML. No? When was the HTML done? In 1980 by Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee is the inventor or the father of the World Wide Web. Do you follow? Who's the father of the internet? Vint Cerf. Okay, the father of World Wide Web is Tim Berners-Lee. So dalawa yon. The hardware is and the protocol is in the US. Okay? And the documentation on the hypertext links is from Europe. Okay? Do you follow? So 1990, the HTML was formally introduced. Okay? Now, in 1991, Next software was introduced in the IBM, okay, which allows the operating system, no, to display a catalog of online documents. It's like also the internet, the web, no. Now, the web during that time is text-based, no. Do you follow? But by 1992, Airwise, no, this is a project. It's a browser application, okay? So Airwise most probably is considered to be the first browser, no? Developed at Helsinki University, which included advanced features such as embedded graphics, scripting, and animation. Do you follow? 1992, you have Airwise, the first graphic browser with graphics. Do you follow? But it did not run on the PC. So Airwise is the first browser in 1992. Okay. Now in 1992 also a hypertext browser was developed by University of Kansas. It's called Lynx. Sino na una? We don't know, no? So the first text-based browser is called Lynx, which runs on Unix and DOS. Do you follow? Do you follow? So there are two competing browsers, Airwise and Lynx. Airwise is from Helsinki. Helsinki is in which country? Capital of Netherlands, I'm not sure, no? Helsinki. Finland. Okay. In Finland, no? They produced Airwise. It's a browser, no, which can embed graphics, scripting, and animation. In 1992, in the US, no, they produced Lynx. Lynx is a DOS-based, rather a text-based browser. You can only browse text, no, which runs on Unix and DOS, no. So now we have a browser in 1992. It runs on DOS. Do you follow? But in 1993, Microsoft Windows browser was introduced. It's called Cello. It's not Cello, no Cello. It's not Netscape. people think that Netscape is the first browser. No, it's not. The first browser is either Airwise or Lynx. Do you follow? And the first browser on Microsoft Windows is Shello. No, it's written by Thomas R. Bruce for your Cornell Law School. First to contain legal information, okay, and providing links. No? So the first browser is Shello. Okay. So history of browsers. Can we look at that? Can you look at that yourself? Remember, no? Kailan yung Shello? 1993. Lynx and Airwise are the first browsers. Lynx is text-based, Airwise is graphical. Web browsers. Who authored www? Tim Berners-Lee of CERN. Okay. Lynx is considered to be the first of. The first browser is considered to be Lynx. Do you follow? Okay. But Mosaic, maybe on the PC, no? Mosaic was the first browser to allow images in on the PC. Okay, but the first, because Airwise was not intended for the PC. Okay, 1992 kasi yung Airwise. Okay, and 1993 is Mosaic. Okay, do you follow? So there's a, it's normal, no? Now 1993, Microsoft Shello was developed, no? Wala dito yung 1993, Mosaic and Shello, but Shello was considered to be the first browser on Microsoft Windows. Okay. 1994, Netscape Navigator. No? Netscape Navigator. Now Netscape is called Mozilla. Okay. 1995 was Internet Explorer. 1996 was Opera. Safari yung 2003. Now, it's called Mozilla Firefox in place of Netscape Navigator. We have Google Chrome in 2008. Okay, Microsoft Edge lately, no? Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay. So that makes the final topic. Okay. Final topic. So I will be uploading the exam maybe later today, no? The sample exam. Okay, the coverage will be all of history of computing. Okay. Any questions so far? So IT students should develop a facility for IT and computer science students, no? For history of computing, because you will need this later, no? Any questions so far? So you know Alan Turing, no? He will be included. The greatest, no? Mathematician, considered to be the greatest mathematician, the father of theoretical computer science. Okay. Mabano. Anyone else? Alcantara. Yanto. Sena. I think I've recorded Kabuga. Yes. DCR. It's already there. Narca. Yanto, of course. No? Ison. Luke. Si Luke, anong? Narcan. That's Narcan, no? Okay. Anyone else? Nakamatsu. Wala, no? Okay. So we're done with an important part of our courseware. And then by next week, we will have a test. No? Wala tayong ibang atubagin. Perez. Perez. Okay. Tavares. Butera. Okay. So see you next meeting. You watch for the no. You watch for the exam. Sena is already there. Cordova. You watch for the exam. I'll activate it anytime today. No. I'll email you when the exam is on. So you watch for your email. Any questions so far? So that's all for today. That's all for this part of our course. No. You follow? Okay. So if you have no questions, we will dismiss now. Thank you very much. Everyone, thank you very much. Okay. I'll upload this session. Okay. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Bye. Goodbye
Thank you,
for now.
sir.
Thank you.